We believe in prophethood of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him and his family. At that specific moment, we have appropriate answer and we can reply these questions, otherwise we cannot. While on earth, if we worship our ego, if we worship Satan, at that time we cannot anymore tell a lie. So one of the results of preserving prayer, not merely praying, preserving al-muhafadha ala salat, preserving prayer, is at that time Malakul Maut is going to remind us, teach us what we should say. I bear witness that there is no God but God. I bear witness that Muhammad is Prophet of God. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. So, through these facts, we can know our prayer much better. Still is not enough. We need something else in order to have some better worship in qualification and even in quantity. We should take benefit of the miraculous love of God. Love of God can have an important role in the way of our life. In that beautiful supplication we read, إلهي لم يكن لي حول فأنتقل به عن معصيتك إلا في وقت أيقظتني لمحبتك. Oh my God, I do not have power at the time of wrongdoing or sin in order to abstain from committing sin. إلا في وقت أيقظتني لمحبتك, with the exception of the time that you awaken me by your love. This is the impact of love, the work of love, the influence of love that would prevent us of committing sin. In another beautiful phrase of our supplication, in those 15 whisperings or munajat of Imam Sajjad, we read, إلهي من ذا الذي ذاق حلاوة محبتك فرام منك بدلا. Oh my God, who can have tasted the sweetness of your love, then wanted to replace another beloved instead of you? You know what? When we prefer other sorts of love instead of God, it indicates that we have not tasted the sweetness of God. Otherwise, we would not replace it with another one. And right now, I would like to just mention an important point. We have a precious treasure that unfortunately we are not aware of it. The supplications that we have in our sources and our books from our prophet and our imams, you cannot find in any other religion or denomination. Never you can find in any other religion. The late Ayatollah Allame Amini, the author of great work of Al-Qadir, was saying that if you want to know the culture of Ahlul Bayt, the host of Prophet Muhammad, you can realize the culture of Ahlul Bayt through these supplications. We can achieve the highest level of perfection and completion through these beautiful supplications. We can realize and gain the knowledge of Islamic mysticism through these supplications. And I remember I had a discussion with a person from Germany. I discussed a couple of topics, many issues, whether theological or juristic or I don't remember, various sort of topics. And we continued discussion. But when I brought up the subject of our supplication, and I had English translation of these supplication that I mentioned right now, Munajat al-Khamsa Ashara, 15, who is parents of Imam Sajjad, the environment was totally changed, something else. That German person was amazed about what was reading. He could not believe the deep meanings of those beautiful phrases. And probably one of the tools that we can take benefit of it is this book of Imam Sajjad, As-Sahifa Sajjadiyya, about the last subject that I mentioned. I just talk a little bit because we are almost at the last minutes of our discussion. Just some sort of ways in order to gain love of God, because love of God has an important role in having an appropriate worship. Now there is a question, how can we achieve love inside us with this qualification and attributes and characteristics that it possesses? There are some points. One of them is, when we spend our time in any field, in any subject, we're going to love it. When you have any knowledge, when you go and study any science, when you spend your time doing anything, step by step you're going to love it, because you have spent your time, your age, whatever you have in that field, you're going to love it. And when you spend your time by recitation of the revelation of God, the book of God, by worshiping, by remembering God, you're going to love Him more. Especially when it is the case of God. Why? Because God Himself has some specific attributes and characteristics. God is in the highest level of perfection, and it is in the nature of human being to love perfection. God is in the highest level of beauty, and it is in the nature of human being to admire beauties. So when we gain knowledge about God, we realize this beauty, this perfection, this completion. At the same time, we spend our time in order to worship, in order to remember God. Naturally, we're going to love God. And it's interesting to know that in one of, probably more than one, at least one of my discussion with Christians, I told them in Islam we have 5 times of prayer each day as our daily obligation, at least 5 times a day. I told them what you have mostly is once a week going to the church and worshiping the Lord. But that is not enough. If you want to solve your problems, because they told me that we have problems, moral and spiritual problems, we cannot educate and train our children. The new generation has been spoiled in the environment and atmosphere of corruption. I told them, you should increase quantity and quality of your relationship with God. It is not enough once or twice a week to go and worship God, and the rest of the week being in the darkness of ignorance and not having relationship with God. Even though you don't have the same rituals that we have, but if you want to have a better atmosphere, a better environment in your communities, in your societies, you should take benefit of this experience of Muslims. As the last point that I want to mention in this gathering of light is sometimes, even though we are aware of these facts, we do not have the prayer or fasting or other rituals that are obligatory for us and should be some tools of upgrading and developing and progressing of our soul, yet they are not so. When we study our holy book and when we study our Islamic narrations, we can find the answer and reply to this question as well, because we have the solution of every problem and every trouble in our religion and Islamic teachings. It has been mentioned in the sayings of Prophet Muhammad, Imam Ali, and in some other sayings of our infallible religious leaders, that if you want, yes, in addition to whatever we said, in addition to any introductory measures, for example, from the first time that we want to go and start fasting or praying, when we are aware of this action, when we do whatever we should do with intention, with pure intention, with awareness, when we make our wudu while we are reciting and reading those supplications, when we remember God, when we want to go and start fasting or praying, all of these facts, yet there is another solution, very interesting and attractive solution that we have studied and learned by our infallible imams and our prophet. What is that solution? Listen carefully. If you want to go and start any of your rituals, imagine that it is the last time that you want to do it. When you want to start praying, imagine that it is the last prayer of your life. How can you pray when you know that it is the last prayer of your life? Something that there is possibility and probability that it is correct. Who knows? Probably this is the last prayer of me. It is the last day that I pray, I fast. This is the last month of Ramadan that I have in my life. This is the last time that I pay homes. This is the last time that I pay zakat. How would you do it? Would it be the same as previous ones? Not at all. You cannot remember anything other than God. You are not aware about anything other than God. Your intention 100% would be pure for the sake of God. This is the result of that point, when you are aware that this is the last prayer that I have in my life. How beautiful are these things. I ask God to give us this success and tawfiq to, first of all, gain the knowledge of our religion, know our Islamic teachings as they are. Let me tell you a story because it is very interesting. At the same time, it's some sort of odd and strange. I was talking to a group of audience, Muslims, non-Muslims. Muslims were Shiites and Sunnis. And the topic of my speech was the love of God in service of humanity. After the end of my speech, one American Muslim came to me and told me, after he appreciated my speech and admired it, he said, I have been Muslim for almost 30 years. I converted to Islam 30 years ago. Okay? This is the first time that I hear the topic of love of God from an Islamic preacher. It was strange. How it is possible? The first time that he heard the topic of love of God from an Islamic preacher. We do not have the knowledge of those beautiful teachings. So first of all, we should gain the knowledge. We should ask God to bestow us this blessing of gaining the knowledge of His religion. Then through our actions and behaviors, we should spread this knowledge. And later, through our words and our discussions. Thank you for your attention and your time, and I hope these